Welcome. I call this meeting to order. Please stand. Nick, would you have our prayer, please?
My Father, we thank you tonight for your grace and your mercy. We ask your wisdom in dealing with the issues at hand. Guide and direct now in this great nation. Be with our men and women who might be in harm's way. Just have your way in our lives, and we exalt you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you've not already done so, please sign in. I do believe we are going to table the minutes because, and act on them at our next meeting because there are some, Anton found
The
some.
auditor's office didn't get them done correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm going to make a motion, we postpone the minutes to our June meeting.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Monthly financial reports and claims are in front of you.
The monthly financial report, again, is just your schedule of balances. I do want to, again, there's a couple in your packets tonight that I wrote out some stuff on. I'm gonna go through and try to start doing that a little bit to get everybody, but I also am gonna get with Polly and whoever wants to join us and some of the department heads to kind of let them know where they're at and where we're at with their cash balances versus line items and their funds. It's already hit for the month, so the balances that you have were as of last week, so it's a little bit higher, just because they've hit in multiple funds.
Is there any questions on, for Sheila? I want to make a kind of an announcement. We've said this before, and I just kind of want to reiterate. If you want to be on the agenda, we have to have your material by the first Monday of the month by noon. So that way, it gives the council a week to look it over, and we're more informed that way, and we're able to make better decisions. So I just kind of want to put that out there for everyone. The only now there was a mistake made on the agenda. My path was put as soil and water. But, so do we need to make an motion to change that then? To accept the corrections, okay. Somebody want to make that motion, please? Motion made by Joe, is there a second? Second by Steve. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay. If there's nothing more questions on the financial report and claims, then we will move on to Jeff. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So, on the jail project, multiple things have happened since we talked last. Legislative session concluded. The implementation of your new local income tax has now been pushed back from 2027 to 2028, so that will affect your revenue stream beginning in 2029. The other thing relevant to the conversation that we had before in the financing of your jail project is the amount of income tax that you would impose for smaller cities and towns previously, the legislation said you had to cut out 25% of that and send it to those entities. Now they have a new 12-step formula that looks at 150% of their proportionate share of population. When we do the math, that works out to about 23.5%. So you actually come out better and garner more money under the new formula than the old. Not to say that that will be the formula in place when you make these decisions in the middle of 2028, but based on best information we have today, the way the legislation's written, your income stream is better than what we had previously anticipated for that reason. Did send an analysis to you, and it's got some notes in it that I did want to walk through to make sure everybody's on the same page. Good news is, based on the new jail project site and the two estimates that have been delivered, which is an option of 104 beds or 112 beds, we believe that you can fund either one of those scenarios based on these things we're going to walk through. So under A, I wanted to look at, again, new data that's been provided this year is the 2024 income tax collections. Remember, as we talked about before, we're always a couple years behind because we're working from unaudited income tax receipts. But every February, the state budget agency updates those last audited receipts, and then that changes our projection. So last audited numbers reported are for 2024. They were up 4.3% from 2023. So that's a good sign. Owen County's income tax base continues to rise. So if we assume that how you're allocating your income tax today, you're using most of it for operations, general fund, public safety lit, public safety access point lit, but then you've put some money away for the jail project, and some of your public safety lit you've allocated to the jail project. If we look at the operational side and assume what you're allocating for income tax for operations today is sufficient, and you're growing at 4.3%, we would believe that you will have sufficient income tax revenue along with your other revenue to meet the needs that you're going to have going forward and be able to cover the inflation on that. You know, if you think there are some big issues coming up where that's not going to be true, then we probably want to talk about that, because that is one of the primary assumptions of you're going to have enough revenue to do everything that you wanted to do. Under section B, for the 1.2% that we talked about for small towns, we would anticipate that that will increase your yield to the county of about $1.65 million when we get into 2029. So under C, currently your correctional facility income tax generates about 1.1 million. So if we get another 1.65 million, that would provide you about 2.745 million per year for debt service on this new jail building. Under D, we vetted or re-vetted the estimates for the projects. Also ran that back through the underwriter to check the interest rate assumptions that we've been using. All those are still good. So for the 104 bed option, annual debt service is estimated to be about $2,520,000 a year. And for the 112 bed option, about $2,605,000 a year. So again, if you implemented the rates up above in D, the 1.2 for you as the county and the 1.2 for the small towns, you would have enough money to cover those debt service payments. Under E, we had talked about before that you wanted to stay within the income tax rate that you have today, which is 2.5%. So what we just talked about was imposing 2.4%. That would give you 0.1%, which is about $550,000 a year. You could use that toward townships, libraries, something like that, or potentially even more revenue for the county if you don't think you need to fund libraries or townships with income tax. Now, when you talked previously about staying at 2.5%, that was you as a fiscal body trying to impose that. That's not the statutory requirement. Under the legislation as it's currently written, you can go to 2.9%. Also included in that 2.9% and a legislative change from last year is there is 0.4% that can be allocated countywide for fire and EMS. Last year, counties were not included in sharing in that revenue. This year they are. Like you and many other counties that provide countywide EMS, that was an important function that should have been included in the income tax share. So if you run into a problem going into the future where you think you need more money, there's an option there for you. You could raise the income tax, allocate it toward some of it toward EMS and some of your other fire operations, etc. And that could get you additional revenue at the county from the operational side if you wanted to. But I still think under the model that we've talked about before, at this point, you can stay at the 2.5% and fund everything that you want to do. Something that we had talked about before is the timing between when the new income taxes go in place, which now is going to be 2029 when the cash actually begins to flow. If you do your jail project this year, issue your bonds, you're going to have to make a debt service payment in 27. Actually, you'll make 2 in 27 and 2 in 28 before you start to see this increase in revenue. In order to do that, you will potentially have to utilize some of your operating balances and your cash reserves that you have. Now, currently your correctional facility income's about $1.1 million a year. So if you went with the higher option at 2.6, you would be short about $1.5 million a year. Across those 2-year periods, you'd need to come up with about $3 million in cash to fund all those debt service payments out of your income tax and not hit the property tax with it. But at the end of 25, general fund is at $6.5 million in cash. I believe your annual expenditures are close to that amount. So you've got an entire year's worth of operating cash in the general fund set aside. That's a great benefit to you and shows that you have been diligent about saving that money going forward. In economic development, there's about $2.5 million. In public safety lit, there's about $1.6 million. And there's $4 million in the correctional facility lit fund. But as we had talked about before in the model that we had developed, we were going to take all of that $4 million, pledge it toward the project to buy down the bond size. So that's already been accounted for and spent. But we believe that of that amount of cash reserves, spending $3 million of that to make your debt service payments in 27 and 28 is very feasible and should not be a problem for your operations. And then down below is just restated and revised the amounts that we had shown you previously about funding the debt service and the additional money we expect to come in. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Are you thinking, Jeff, it looks better now than it did 4 months ago when you talked to us?
It does, and the 3 biggest points on that is the formula that made you share with cities and towns got better to your benefit. we saw 4.3% actual increase in your income tax base in the county, so that shows that you're growing. And the ability to share 0.4% of your income tax toward EMS is a big safeguard if you foresee a problem when we get into the future years.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Jeff?
Yeah, so can you clarify on the jail facility fund balance? We have about 4 million in there, and you just said that we are not using that as the cash to cover those 2 years worth of payments. Is that correct? You're now
Because I've
saying it's going to be
already-
used for something else.
Well, we've already, in the model, we've already committed it to buy down the bond. So it's already been committed to the project itself. If you want to utilize that, I think that's an option. And we would just go back, pull the 4 million out, up the debt service. So instead of being 2.5 or 2.6 million, now it might be 2.75 and 2.8 million. And then we could use that to make the debt service payment.
What was the total debt service limit amount in that estimation? Was it 28 million or 27 or
Whatever they provided.
whatever they provided? Okay.
Yeah, they provided one example, and I can try and find those.
Well, originally, the reason why I asked that is because I think 27 or 28 was what the number was, and that assumed that we would use 4 million in cash. So that means the gross amount was, what, 31 or 32? For some reason, those numbers come to mind, but I may be
Yeah,
wrong.
I just, like I
I don't
say,
know.
I took the estimates, built in the financing part of it, took the 4 million, sent it over the wall to the underwriter for them to send me back payment amounts, and I didn't look
Okay.
specifically at that, getting the dollar amounts. I looked more at the payment amount and cash flowing in, but I may have those here.
The other part to this was the eventual, assuming that we sell the property that the jail is on now, there would be an influx of cash at that point, which could also be used to cover the cost or shortfall, if you will,
27 and
in, let's say,
Yeah,
year
best-
2.
Yeah, best case
Yeah.
scenario, we could use that for our payments on 27.
At the last commissioner, or at the last council meeting, I know Commissioner Hobbs had talked about that and said that was not the case. But it is the case, or where are we at in that estimation?
What I say, it wasn't, what do you mean I said it wasn't?
At the last meeting, we talked about the sale of that property for the jail that's currently on, the property that the jail is currently on. And you were talking about how that amount was not going to be figured into the finances or the project cost.
Well, I don't mean it that way. We don't know what it's going to be. Whatever, we will have to sell that piece of property.
Okay.
The piece of property I was talking about not selling is the
On
property
the
on South
43.
43.
Yeah, on
Okay.
43, that's what he,
That, we will not be selling that.
You'll keep it.
Yeah, I mean, we may lease it or something like that, and put it back on the tax roll, but it won't be sold.
The other question is this potential property purchase that's by Walmart that's, let's say 1.7 million or whatever that comes out to, plus the 2 million for the sewer upgrade, that's already figured into these numbers?
That would be the construction people's
from
thing to
the,
verify, but based on what I saw, yes, everything is included in here.
So that top gross project amount would include the land purchase and the sewer in the number.
It should be in there.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Total,
And-
total number.
And for the 112 bed, the gross top amount is a little over 38.5 million. And in the 104 bed, it's about 37.4 million.
Yeah.
and that does include the property that we're. that
What
we're
I saw, I
buying?
believe it includes the property and the sewer line, the utilities.
Yeah, I
I
knew
would
the
hope
one
so,
I
if
saw
that's
was
the amount.
had the
And it's got
sewer,
some
but
contin-
I
and it's got
I
some
couldn't remember if it
contingency
had
in
the
there as well.
property included in that.
It's supposed to be, because that's what we discussed at the last jail committee.
Yeah, and I'm gonna still need some time to look at these numbers, but I still think we're scraping it pretty thin here. We're on thin ice with these kind of numbers. And it may sound good on paper, I don't think it takes into account the distribution to other units of government, which the state legislature in the next session will definitely be tinkering with again. So we've got to be careful about banking on the entire capacity, because we may end up having to give some of that capacity up to support the towns, support the library, support the schools, because they're all going to want their share, the share that they've been getting currently. And I'm not saying that that's the final configuration, but that could be a bit of a complication if we're anticipating using all of that 1.2 for municipal use. So we got to be very conservative with that and make sure we're not overextending ourselves.
Yeah, definitely this is not the final allocation model, as you said. 27 is a long session. They will definitely make changes. They might make some in 28 as well. The other thing I would say about schools, although schools are anticipated to lose their income tax revenue based on this legislation, their school funding formula gets reset every 2 years when they do that. So until the legislature actually redoes the school funding formula for that period that begins or includes 2029, they won't know whether they've won or lost. Because it's typically revenue per pupil. So if the state ups that to replace that income tax that's lost, then they will be in the same position they're in today.
Well, but now they're considering that they've lost it, so that's their
They are.
approach, obviously.
Yes.
Same with
That's
the
what they'll be
municipalities.
lobbying for.
Yeah, and there's a very strong lobbying force for that. So that's something very concerning. We also have this new must requirement, which you're familiar with.
Which is a may.
Yep, yep. And so, yeah, may and must. So there's that part and the communication with that and where that leads. And if you don't participate in that, then your upper limit is going to be curtailed slightly as a penalty. So I would want to be careful with
Where
that.
was that?
I don't know, I don't have the code reference,
Because
but
I've heard that more than once, but nobody's
Yeah.
able to give me the code reference.
I'll try looking for
Yeah.
that. But supposedly, if you don't participate in a must or have some kind of a report to offer by the end of the year, or whatever deadline that is, then, and maybe it's a legislative threat that's being like, well, if you don't participate in this, then we're going to take legislative action to cut it back, right? Either way, I don't want that cut back. I want to make sure that we don't lose money or leave money on the table that we could take advantage of for the project. So something to be mindful of.
Yeah. So you do have a little bit of variance in there. Again, if debt service comes in at 2.5 or 2.6 million and you're bringing in 2.745 more or toward debt service, you've got a little bit to work with there as well. But you're absolutely right. You need to look at those, weigh those options, weigh what your risks are, because you do have 2 legislative sessions to survive before you will know what the real numbers are.
There's a setup in there of, if we did go exactly with this, of what's it gonna do to all the other emergency services? Are they gonna starve for the next 20 years? Are we gonna be able to afford to give raises to EMS, to give additional officers? This doesn't incorporate the additional jailers.
Yeah, the assumption would be, today, the legislature has imposed a 4% growth rate on your property tax. You had income tax receipts come in at 4.3. If those 2 things continue forward, that should be sufficient to cover inflationary growth. Now, if you have, a big population influx into Owen County and you have to add additional services beyond just inflationary costs of personnel and operations, then that could be an issue. But, that's an issue that all growing communities have.
At least the income tax base would increase at that point.
Yes.
If there's an influx of residents. The other thing to this, even though we're not pledging property, or we're not wanting to utilize property tax here in this case is the legislative environment after the recent primary election is going to create a different approach for property tax, I suspect, in the next session of the legislature. So I would anticipate even more limitations and more action that reduces the amount of property tax that comes into local units. So that's going to hurt us on the back end. We're going to have to make up for that somewhere with income tax, or make the income tax go further. We also have the effect of higher gas prices, the economy, and, you know, we may not see the 4.3% growth in income tax if people may lose jobs or unemployment or other pressures in the economy cause a downturn. You know, we got to be very careful with that too. So, no way to predict that really, but it is a factor to consider.
Yes.
Another would be if they do get moving on townships and eliminating the townships, and then the fire service falls back on the county.
We're going to have that revenue that they were getting to pay for that. So, yeah.
If you want a real quick thumbnail, I have a great solution for that.
Sure.
If townships go away, probably the two best things you could do would be establish a fire district or two, potentially one rural, one urban, although I know you have a fire territory currently throughout Spencer, right? So potentially you could leave them alone, establish a rural fire district. A fire district is its own unit of government. The commissioners typically appoint 3 people in order to sit on and administer that. But if you establish a new fire district, that fire district gets to go to the DLGF and have them establish a new property tax levy for funding their operations. So potentially, whatever responsibility fell back to the county, you could then offset that with a new property tax levy for whatever that operational model looks like. Now, that being said, if you raise property tax rates, you're going to raise the impact of circuit breakers and losses, and you're going to net collect fewer property taxes for those properties that hit the 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps. But there's a good solution for that, if that happens.
Lots to think about. So I urge everyone to, you know, take these papers home and really study the numbers and, because, yeah, we have a lot of major decisions coming.
So, do you foresee them being able to make a decision at their June meeting based on the numbers you presented tonight, or do you think there will be another jail committee meeting, obviously, but we're kind of within a timeline here?
You know, it's really up to you as the fiscal body and what assumptions and risks you're willing to accept at this point. From the bond selling part of it, as soon as you guys say go and we're doing 104 or 112 beds, we're ready to go. Because this model provides what bond counsel needs to say you have a reasonable expectation that you will pay these with income taxes and not property taxes. Therefore, you don't have to go through the property tax procedures. That being said, the backup security for these bonds is truly the property tax. So if at any point in the future, over these next 20 years, that these bonds are outstanding, that income taxes are insufficient, whatever that amount is that's insufficient could go on the property tax rolls, so bondholders won't be impaired. But you will have, you know, not honored what you tried to do of keeping it all on the income tax. But again, that may or may not be out of your hands when you get into year 7, 8, 13, don't know. But yeah, I think this is a fundable model ready to go at whatever level of the levels we've talked about when you guys are ready to proceed.
Sam, is they were supposed to assess the value of the courthouse. Has that been done?
Yes, they're not complete with that work.
I mean, they've all been reached out to do the surveys
But
and
it's-
the
yeah.
courthouse appraisal and those things. I don't know that we've gotten anything back yet.
Okay.
But they've all committed to have stuff back within the 90-day period that was originally set by the committee, and so I'd say July at the latest they would be back, but you don't need that stuff to proceed
With
with what
the
his
bond.
proposal is tonight.
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So the courthouse is going to be tied up in the process of making this financial adjustment?
Only really on paper. You're going to value the property of the courthouse, and it's going to be equal to or greater than the interest payments that would be due on the bonds during the construction period, so that you can go ahead and immediately start paying principal and interest, so we don't have to borrow the interest during the construction period. And then as soon as you occupy the new jail, this will be released, and I'm speaking a little bit out of turn for bond counsel, depends on how they write it, but typically, this asset would be released once the jail is occupied, and then the jail becomes the asset for the jail bonds. So potentially a 2-year period that this is encumbered, but again, it's really only on paper, because there's no cash changing hands. It's just this building will be a security collateral asset for the interest payments during construction.
Okay. I appreciate that. But who actually holds the security? I mean, who would actually,
I think on paper, and again, this is a bond counsel question, on paper, it will be the building corporation. Because the building corporation is also holding all the asset and the debt of the new jail. And the building corporation is really just a shell corporation just for this financing activity. It has no responsibility outside of that.
During construction.
Well, during the life of the bonds.
Oh,
And it's the same thing that all schools do it, and it's what you do when you can't fund the project you need with 1/3 of 2% of your assessed value, which is the maximum amount you're allowed to issue in general obligation bonds. So when your project exceeds that amount, you set up a building corporation, and you have a lease between the county and the county's building corporation. The county's building corporation actually, the county's building corporation actually issues the bonds, and they hold title to that asset while it is indebted. And you at the county collect the income taxes from your people. You pay a lease payment to the building corporation. The building corporation pays that lease payment over to a trustee bank that then pays all the bondholders that bought all the bonds to build the project.
now are these people local people?
They're appointed by the county. I assume it's by the commissioners as the executive. And there's typically 3 of those. Is it 3 on your building corp?
3.
Because you've already established it.
Well, we're working on it.
We're working toward it.
Attorney will have that too.
Okay.
So next meeting, yes.
Yeah, and again, their only function is really to do this financing exercise and to have that money flow in and out of.
You ever seen any catches or clicks or anything happen in this?
Have not. We've done a lot of them, and we've done them for townships, special taxing districts, cities, towns, counties. We don't do schoolwork because they're kind of a tight clique, but schools do it more than anybody else. And it makes sense. You can't finance that many buildings under 2% of 1/3 of your assessed value. Their general obligation bond cap's just not big enough.
If you was a resident of Owen County, what would you think about what we're hoping to accomplish and the avenues that we're taking to make it happen.
Well, being here for the last multiple years and the conversations we've had out here in the lobby and downstairs, you know, you made a commitment to build a jail based on income taxes that you imposed twice. I think you need to build a jail and try and pay for it with income taxes, and at this point in time, you have the ability to do that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeff?
On yours, Jeff, the situation we're in, have you seen counties in worse shape try to build what we're doing? Or try to have a project of this size and still survive it? Or are we the boss?
No. I have had counties in much worse financial condition, but you guys were probably close to that when we started this exercise 6 or 7 years ago. You know, we just talked about, you got $10 million in excess cash reserves sitting around. You've done a great job of going from where we started talking about a project to where we are today. So I think operationally, you're in real good shape. If you need to undertake a project, which you all agree you should, you have the means to do it at this point in time.
I know
So,
your-
yeah, I don't think you're in bad shape now. I think you were.
I know your job is to help us with the analyticals of it and all the numbers, and you've done an excellent job with that. If you were to switch me seats and you had to vote on this tonight, what would your vote be?
It would be yes, it'd go back to you as a fiscal body made an obligation when you raised those taxes to replace the jail. And if you have a viable option to do it, I think, you know, the time has come. Because, you know, as we talked, the jail project we were talking about 6 or 7 years ago was not 37 or 38 million.
And it's not gonna get any cheaper.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, and I plan on being back next month for
Yeah,
anything you
please,
need.
please.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
All right, on to the public hearing for additional appropriations. I hereby open the public hearing. Should be in front of you. These have been advertised, voted on the last meeting. Is there any questions from the public?
I can't hear you. You need to speak
Oh,
up.
sorry. This for the additional appropriations that were voted on and advertised. This is the public hearing, so if the public has any questions, they're allowed at this point to speak or ask questions on.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. Mr. Niff mentioned about selling the old jail property. If you're able to sell that jail property, which the commissioners have declared to be in a flood zone, how do you plan on selling it?
Well, this public hearing is actually not for the jail. This is just additional
Well, no, I'm bringing
appropriations.
up- He opened the.
Right,
statement up.
right,
So-
but- Mm-hmm.
So by law, I can ask that question. How are you gonna sell a piece of property declared a flood zone? And if that's true, then how are you gonna sell it? Why could you not build the jail where it's at now and save millions of dollars?
So this one, that question can be asked at the end of it. This specific open hearing right now is for the additional appropriations that we approved last month.
All right.
So at the end of
Right,
public
yeah,
comment-
you are more than welcome at the end of the meeting, we have public comment, and that would be the time to ask those questions. Right now, this is the additional appropriations that, like I said, have been advertised in the paper. we voted to advertise it, and so that's just what this public hearing is for. At the end of the meeting, we do have public comment, and you are more than welcome to ask the questions then, so, okay,
I'll be here.
yeah. So does anybody in the public want to ask questions on these additional appropriations that were advertised? If not, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I have a question. What was the appropriations you're speaking of, what amounts?
Okay,
Look at your agenda.
It doesn't say what's the amount or how much it is. I want to know exactly what.
yeah, it's on the agenda, and there should be agenda over the, dispatch fund, the 41,795, radio project, 1.3 million, and document fees. I'll see the amount for that. And then part-time for 13,049.
I'd like to make a motion to approve additional appropriations as advertised.
Motion made by Steve, seconded by Joe. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. I hereby close the public hearing. On to old business. Okay. Frost Brown and Todd Council Letter of Engagement. It's in your packets.
The original letter was in there, we were following it up with Tony, and I believe he'd give you an answer.
Yeah, your question, Anton, was if there was an issue between the commissioners and the council, which side would Tony be arguing for? And so he called me and said that he would not be arguing for either side. He would excuse himself from that. We would have to get two different attorneys. So, which I hope that doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, you want to.
I would like to think we can get along and get our differences worked out without something like that.
So if you're all in agreement with that answer, there is a copy of the original that he sent, I believe, back in March, that does need a motion and approved. I think Polly's the only signature on it to accept his letter of engagement.
You did point something out, Anton. Do we want to have that checked into?
No, it's not a part of the contract.
Okay. It's just the cover letter, right? Okay. So does someone want to make that a motion?
I'm making a motion to accept his letter.
Okay. Motion made by Joe. Is there a second? Second by Burl. Are there any more questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay. All right, Dottie's Refuge.
See, a couple commissioner meetings ago, or three, I can't keep track, lost time, but put the cart before the horse a little bit. We encumbered money from other services at the tune of $162,000, Sheila, give or take some change. It was encumbered to be used, appropriated for the window project. then the commissioners agreed to take that money from other services, $150,000 of it, to support Dottie's refuge for the crisis center, and we agreed to that. Then when it came to the council, Anton had a good question. He wanted to know where the money was coming from. It's coming from, Sheila's probably got the line item right there.
You all have this.
It's coming from other services that we encumbered from 2025. So in total, their total money that we have in other services, as to date, Sheila, is $300 and some thousand, correct?
Yes.
So we was gonna take $150,000 of that. Sheila contacted the State Board of Accounts, and I apologize, I got my other truck, so. We encumbered $162,646.85 from other services. We carried that over, and we have a total in there of $345,052.42, where Sheila contacted the State Board of Accounts to make sure we could utilize this money for a DART program. And they said we could, it just has to be reappropriated to this program. Does that make sense? Make sense, Anton? So we're requesting that the council appropriate the $150,000 out of other services that we encumbered from last year to go to the DART program. The reason we don't want to touch the opioid money is we're hoping, we know this program is going to work, but they're going to need funding for next year. But also the Indiana Dream Team, it's a men's facility up north. Officer Brown is very familiar with that, and so am I, and so is the sheriff. They may need some funding along the line too to keep their operations going. So we didn't want to deplete the opioid program. There's other people reaching out. Chris may need some stuff. I know the sheriff is working on a program for Putnam County's, correct, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
The DARE program, we've already allocated $25,000 to that. We just don't know what all needs are going to be met, or we're going to need to meet with the opioid money. So we have the opportunity here to spend the $150,000 out of encumbered money to go to the DART program, to leave the opioid money alone until we see what else we need from it.
I know when we first started getting the opioid money, there was a committee on there to kind of decide what it was gonna be used for.
Well, there's some of the opioid money it has to be appropriated by the council, and there's some of the opioid money that's appropriated by the commissioners. Sheila, do you have those totals in front of you, what they are?
I don't, I
That's
know that the coroner still, I believe, has 19,000 and something, but I don't know the exact numbers. Chris still has money left, I believe his is already committed to, is it laptops or he's
Yeah,
using?
I've got to get some laptops for the trucks as well as, I'm gonna have to get some more funding somewhere, to get all the laptops I need.
'Cause
But yeah, I've got some.
I know that the DART program, when they came, and I can't forget this young lady's name back here who's overseeing it,
Lindsay, sorry.
Lindsay. You know, it's a 2-year, I mean, we got to commit finance to it for 2 years, and they hope after 2 years they'll be self-sufficient, where they'll be on their own and so forth. So we didn't want to spend any of the opioid money that wasn't necessary, because they may need some money next year. And if we have some of that opioid money left, they may need, I don't know what their money they're gonna need, but it's gonna cost them $150,000 a year for operating, and getting them started. So we just upfronted the money from other services, and it's my fault I put the cart before the horse. I thought since we encumbered the money and it was in other services, we could use it, but I didn't know for sure, so,
I got a couple questions about that.
yes.
It's been 1 month now. Are all interested parties and important players in this on board for this program, including probation, prosecutor's office, circuit court, and public defender?
Bill, you wanna talk about that, or Sheriff, both Evans, or Lindsay, anybody wants to come up?
I would speak a little bit for clarification's sake. So this was DART, Drug Alcohol Resource Team. drug alcohol resource team is made up of 7 members of our community. So they are represented by Cindy's on the board, so mental health is there. Several different organizations are represented on that committee. DART, we created the idea that DART would actually try to get a women's facility beginning. That's what we were doing, that's what we asked for, to support that. They have become their own 501c3 through Lindsay. Lindsay has been hired. So that group that sits on DART, I wish I knew that question was coming. So I could have told you how many people represented, maybe Cindy knows more than I do, how many groups are represented on there, but quite a bit of our community is represented by DART. DART has now stepped aside, allowed 501c3, and they have created their own board. I sit as president. He sits on that board as well. And so mental health is there, and recovery is on there. I believe rescue recovery is on that board, but it's a board that's made up of several members within it. I don't believe we have a personal probation there, but we do have the church is represented on that board as well. So Lindsay, do you know everybody that's on that board?
I think that you've covered them. We have Ashley Collins from Centerstone and
Cindy from Hamilton Center.
yes, and
I represent law enforcement on that. And then,
Lifeway Baptist.
I'm sorry. A couple of pastors, so it represents the churches as well. And so that represents the community as a whole too. Probation is not on there. I will tell you that I have sat, and Lindsay has sat with Kelsey Hamlin, and we talked about drug court and what may be happening there, which includes probation. That is just a thought in the future of perhaps maybe going back in there. I will tell you that listening to Judge Hamlin, there's a little bit of a difference in opinion about whether that would help or hurt and what Dottie's stands for. So I hope that answers your question.
More on it, for folks to go to DART and to get help, is there a judicial process in Owen County that's going to offer that service?
That's what I talked to Judge Hamlin about in speaking about we don't have drug court anymore. There still is court order opportunities for Judge Vandermoor to do. It's more Judge Vandermoor's court than it is Judge Hamlin, but Judge Hamlin used to be part of the old drug court, so I was talking to her more about that. But there is a court order opportunity for them to use, and so can they use Dream Team for men and other facilities to do. As you know, as we talked, this is going to be a faith-based organization, so they cannot force somebody to go to that. However, we have developed in DART an opportunity for people to look at the many options that are available to someone who's suffering through this, and incarcerated people, to be able to say, I would choose this. Once they make that selection and choice, I've got Judge Vandermoor to say, if they make that selection on their own, I will sign that court order. So provided that a bed is available at Dottie's home, Dottie's Refuge, if they choose that, he will sign that court order to go. So there is that opportunity, but there is no force to go, because you can't mix state and church. So did I explain everything?
Yes,
Just ensuring that you're getting the backing that you guys need to get folks an opportunity for that program.
Yes, so there has been so many connections she's been able to make since we hired her from director. I would prefer to defer that question to her to tell you how far she's been.
we're connected with, I worked at Stability First prior to coming into this position. And I was a community resource coordinator, so I've already built a huge network of people. And I'm friends with people that run the Free at Last Ministry, Wheeler Mission, and several other men's recovery homes that have women calling all the time needing a place to go. So I know that we'll have a waiting list.
Madam Auditor, can you tell me what line item we're taking that money from?
It's fund number 1000, which is the Commissioner 68-30100, which is other services.
Okay, I make a motion that we grant $150,000 from the line item that was mentioned by the auditor. We talked about this last month. I think you had support from the council at that time. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I've seen this other program up in the northern part of the county work very, very well. Yes, I make that motion.
Motion made by Nick, is there a second? Second by Joe. Any questions?
So the motion is to advertise, correct, for fund?
Yeah, we would have to do that, yes.
Appropriation, which means I still have to file the proper paperwork with the state for their new ELGFC system, but yes.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm gonna have to abstain because of a conflict of interest, so.
I understand. All right, if there are no further questions, all those in favor?
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. All right, on to new business. Probation, new, let's see, budget fund? Yeah.
We just received verification of a grant that runs on a fiscal year. So when I apply for my budgets in August, I never know how much this grant would be. So I had to change the grant funding line items for the rest of 2026, so it falls in line with what was approved from the state for this grant last week, or the week before last. So that's where we are. Because it's always gonna rotate different than the budget years. Budget's a calendar year.
So the new fund number effective July 1st.
Yes.
Is gonna be 9182.
No, sorry, it's 9150.
Because on the budget sheet that was
You are correct.
presented.
I said
Okay,
whatever
just want to
last
make sure
year's.
we're on the same page. So it's
Yes.
91.
not
Sheila didn't catch
9182.
that either, sorry. No, that is correct, it's 9150. We are currently running under budget 9182, and this, because it's a juvenile DOC grant, we have to switch fund numbers every other year, so we have to rotate back and forth.
And the current budget through June 30th
Yes,
was only about 6,200. Were you using just cash pretty much to cover that? Because there wasn't a grant, right?
there was a grant.
There was, but it
Yeah.
was only 6,000? Oh,
That's correct.
okay.
They're very
So
specific.
it can vary dramatically
Yeah, because
from
the year
to
before it was about 22,000. We have,
Okay.
with this grant, it is very, very specific on what they will approve and what
Okay.
we can use it for. So it is much more specific than the adult side.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood the pattern on
Yep,
that.
and they allowed for coordination fees, or salaries, so 15,000 of that is actually, will go towards the juvenile probation officer's salary for the next budget year. So,
So when we do our workshops, then half of this grant is going to come into play for the salaries and
Like a
that
third, but
chart,
yes.
something like that.
yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly, so it'll play into that budget for the calendar, yeah.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the budget for Fund 9150 effective July the 1st of 2026 for JDAI.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, my path funding request.
And Area 10, what is that?
No, they're going to be on next.
Okay, for June.
Because we did not get the,
Got it.
All right, hi, I'm Kyle Hannon. I'm with the Community Foundation, Owen County Community Foundation, on my Path Trail system. And my first job out of college, I worked for the House Republican staff in the Indiana State House. Good time, learned lots of things, working with legislators. At the time, if you asked any legislator, they would always say, the government closest to the people is the most important. And I bet you if you talk to all 150 legislators today that they would sort of theoretically agree with you. But the last 10 years or so, the legislation doesn't actually reflect that very well. So I'm just kind of saying that just to that I'm aware that you have some challenges. And I wasn't sleeping through the presentations earlier, so I see that those challenges are continuing. But anyway, I'm still going to ask for $12,000 for a study, for a planning study to hire the Epley Institute, which is based at IU. They've been around for 30 years doing parks and public lands. They're well known from all over the place. They're experts in doing this. And they are interested in helping us provide a plan, a regional plan for a regional trail system. And you may know that we have a regional group that meets every month. That you have Spencer, Owen County, MyPath people from Ellettsville, people from Monroe County, and people from Bloomington saying, how can we connect the trails? Because those have been sort of big drivers in other parts of the country. Like, could we do this? So we've been thinking, all right, we're getting close. We're talking a lot. We've been communicating, sharing ideas, but it's probably time to maybe get this on paper a little bit and look a little closer. And if you have a plan down on paper that affects when development comes along, you can say, hey, let's include a trail in this because that's part of our plan. So that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. And what is the benefit of this? So last year, we had a group of folks did an economic impact study and talked about some other things. I may have sent an electronic version of this to you. If you're not interested, you want to see it again, I'm happy to do it, to share it with you. So they were looking, what is the impact of MyPath, for instance, the economic impact of MyPath? And they compared that to other rural trails around the country and other rural trails in Indiana and looked at their economic impacts. And they came up with a range saying, okay, for a local user, the range is probably between $7.21 and $11.33 of local spending because of the trail, that they come to the trail and they spend locally because of that. So I think, all right, well, let's take a median value of $9.27 when local people come to the trail. Well, we, as you may know, we have counters on the trail. And I'm happy to say that in March, that was the first time we went over 2,000 on our counter that we recorded. So if you take that 2,064, that comes up with an economic impact of $19,133 of impact, but from people coming to the trail. Well, April came to an end and May started, so I went out last week and downloaded the counts again. Now we're up to 2,398 users on that trail, which has an economic impact of $22,229. And then their estimated median value of out-of-town users that come in, then your estimate is around $21.50 per user. And then the median value, then overnight people who are staying overnight, the median value is $138. But even getting back to what would we say, the $9.27 per user, the analysis, the economic impact statements get kind of complicated using various multipliers and all. So I tend to think of every Wednesday, we have our Wednesday walk on the trail that starts at 10 o'clock. Well, for a lot of us, it starts sometime after 9 o'clock, even earlier at the Main Street Coffee. And I sit there and think, I've just ordered coffee, and last week I got a muffin too. There are a couple of guys there that order breakfast as well. And one in particular then orders lunch to go for he and his wife for after the trail, that they order that. So that's the kind of thing you look at. So, those are all expenses that wouldn't have happened if you didn't have that Wednesday walk going on. And so that's the kind of thing when you're talking about economic impact. That, and then you have out-of-town people that might come in. Well, they may stop for gas. Somebody, hey, I got to bring my kids to try out this MyPath trail I'm hearing all about. And then they're heading home, and they're going to stop at Dairy Queen. Maybe they want to go check out Dragonfly because I've heard a lot about it. But that's sort of the economic impact that you have. That happens because you have a trail that's attracting people. Which again, we're close to 2,400 a month, and it's going to keep growing, which is exciting. The other ways the trail has impact, MyPath has brought in nearly $1 million in grants. This isn't from you, from the county or the town. This is $1 million of granting agencies that we have been able to reach out to get things, and I try to, as much as possible, use local services when we get money for that. So that's $1 million that we've done. And then The economic analysis, well, and that's in addition, you have fundraising as well, but I'm thinking grants that come in for particular projects that we do stuff with. But then economic analysis that these folks says, you know, as you expand the trail, this sort of makes sense, as you expand the trail, the impact increases because you brought more people to the trail, is how that happens. Now, I know there's the South Monon Trail, which is heading down south, you may be familiar with, but I know the towns of Mitchell and Orleans and Borden and New Pekin are all doing things around having that trail that's being developed in their communities. And then just the other day, I read about Posey County was doubling down on attracting people on tourism as something to do. So, you know, I believe my path is helping us right now, this community, economically. It's an investment, it's bringing money into our community, and so I'm asking for $12,000 so we can increase that.
Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
If we gave you the $12,000, would you, if you came up with a design to make this a better project, are you going to come back and ask for more money?
Not planning to. It is, you know, we were able to build, I mean, the trail right now it's, you know, shared sidewalk and things that go from the YMCA through town. And then we got a grant to do that new section of the 0.7 miles, which is the paved section. And then we're planning to, there will be an announcement soon of taking the next step. And I haven't asked you for a dime for any of that. And my hope is no. I mean, where are you going to get it? Can I have $2 million? I don't think you have it. So no, my intention is to not ask you for money. If you want to help with it, absolutely, I'd be happy to take it. But
I appreciate your presentation. You've done some homework there, and I'm not against seeing the county prosper or benefit from these things. I think it's very important. And you're right, it does bring clientele into the county. I don't know where we're going to come up with $12,000.
Well, my point of it right now, in the financial shape that the county's in, we're trying to build a jail. You know, I think we need the extra money that we do have, I think we need to use it to help the most people. And Yuns have done a nice job and it's looking good. But I'd say that as far as the percentage of the people in the county that uses that is not as great as it could be or should be, you know, and we're pretty thin on our income, I mean, our money that we've got, and we've got a place to use it, and that's the only part that I'm against right now, is that I think the money that we have extra that we can use, we need to use it to most benefit for most of the people in the county, because that's what we try to do anyhow as a whole.
I will keep you informed of my counts, because when it gets up to $5,000 a month, which it will by the end of the summer is my guess.
Oh, I agree with you. But
then we're talking money.
And there's a lot of people that does. I mean, we've had people out of the county that come to me and said that that's a nice trail that you had down there and all that stuff, you know. But as a whole, for right now, we need all the income taxes that we can to do with what we already obligate ourselves to.
Kyle, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Is your full portion the 12,000, or are you guys just needing a? Is it larger than 12,000?
That's the portion for the study. That will cover it.
For Owen County?
We might even be able to talk them down some if we, you know, if we provide some GIS information or something, we might be able to save a little on that. But that's the full thing. So.
And the idea is to connect Monroe County's trail to Owen County. Where does Monroe County's trail end?
So here, and this is interesting because this is a long time ago. When we started My Path folks, and this is even before me, started talking to Ellettsville and to Monroe County, and again, we meet monthly to sort of talk about this and how can we do things. And in our applications for next level trails, we were talking about it would be great to connect to the trails over in Monroe County Ellettsville was, in their application, said it would be nice to connect to the trails in Owen County. So independent of each other, we're both saying that back and forth. Their plan, their Heritage Trail, which starts where Karst Farm Trail stops, then it goes through Ellettsville up to their town hall. Well, they have a new housing development going on, the Harmon Farms thing. And when you have your plan in front of them, they're putting a trail in that's going to go further. And then the county is talking, even more, that wouldn't it be great to get to Flatwoods Park? Well, we're right across the street. Owen County is right across the street. So they're planning, they don't have money either, but they're planning and using what they can to try to get to Flatwoods Park. And that, when we get to McCormick's Creek, we would like to find a way to get down to Flatwoods Park too. That's where the likely connection will be.
You mentioned Borden and New Peak, and I've seen that, and it's on an old railroad track.
Yep.
Super convenient.
It's really neat. It's easy for those people who have railroad tracks, because there you have the groundwork already laid. Did I tell you about that $300,000 bridge we had to buy to get over Elliston Creek? But ours is better. So, but that's exactly that. That's a big project they've got going. So, and you know what? Once we get to Bloomington, that trail's not that far away. Maybe you can see the day when people start out at McCormick's Creek or start at Spencer at the coffee shop and go all the way to the Ohio River. Maybe someday, we'll see.
Yeah. If we take action, I'm going to have to abstain for conflict because I'm on this board. But for discussion, just playing devil's advocate here for a moment.
Sure.
I would suspect that the biggest bang for the buck, so to say, is getting connected to McCormick's Creek State Park.
Mm-hmm.
If we can connect the trail, that final leg, from where it ends now to the park, that creates an open channel for back and forth business. Those folks that are staying out at the park have a non-driving option to get in, leisure option to get into town, buy food, spend money, and all that. So my question is if you, all else being equal, if there was 12,000 needed and 12,000 that could be spent, wouldn't it be better spent towards connecting that part versus a broader two-count? You see where I'm going with that question?
I do see where you're going with that.
I'm just throwing that out for your insight on that.
Do I have to answer that?
I guess you don't, but.
No, I can't. The more immediate response would be from the closer. I think if we can get to McCormick's Creek in time for them to open the campground, I think Marcy Johnson has, and the chamber has shared with the community a lot of times the study they did on what was lost when the tornado wiped out the campground. Can you imagine not only the campground reopening, but the campground being able to come to Spencer on bicycle? So that would have a pretty instant impact.
Do you have a plan to get to McCormick's Creek?
Kind of. I have a couple routes. One route we've already cast aside because I talked to a property owner who had no interest whatsoever. So, okay, we'll not go that way. I mean, that's the thought of this whole thing. We're not doing eminent domain. We're not going where we're not wanted. I got a couple other routes in mind, and there could be some others that come along. I think that I have some ideas. I don't have a solid plan yet. I'm trying to get a couple things I got to try to figure out, working with other state agencies. So, but it's not unreasonable to think we could get to McCormick's Creek. It's less than 2 miles to the gatehouse from where we're at now. Less than 2 miles to the gatehouse, and we'll be So, does that answer your question? We could.
I'd be way more apt to help you get to McCormick's Creek than I would to Ellisville.
Okay.
If you were a hitchhiker, it's easier to drop you off there too.
That's true. That's true.
But it would be cool for somebody also to be able to possibly ride a bicycle or walk from town right up to Grand's Ice Cream.
It would. Are they open?
Not until the campground opens.
Okay. That would be. I agree with you. In fact, no.
So what's the mind of the council?
We either need a motion to approve what he asked for,
Or
or
just-
a motion to bring you back another plan, or a motion not to take any action.
I'll make a motion to not take any action.
Motion made by Steve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Nick. Any questions? All those in favor not to take any action? All those opposed? And one abstention. I appreciate you coming.
Anytime, I'll stay in touch, and anytime we have questions.
Yeah, thank you. All right, tax abatements.
Amy?
Good evening, council.
So tonight we come before you with the recommendation from our Tax Abatement Review Committee with Henry Holsters. Last year, Henry Holsters came before the county council and asked for an abatement. And so this was his first year to go through that abatement. As with every abatement, they must meet with the review committee once a year to make sure that they're in compliance, so that then the review committee creates a recommendation for the county council. So if I can, I'll just read through the recommendation, which I do at each council, whether that's town or county, word for word, so that you can have it on record. So now therefore be it resolved by the Spencer Owen Economic Development and Abatement Review Committee as follows. The review committee convened on the 20th day of April 2026 at BBP Water Corporation to evaluate and review the annual compliance abatement form submitted by Henry Holsters. The review committee finds that Henry Holsters has installed the manufacturing equipment to be completed and pursuant to the terms of the tax abatement. The review committee finds that Henry Holsters is on target to meet all requirements which are in accordance with the original statement of benefits. The review committee has reviewed the annual CF1 personal property form at the annual reporting period. The review committee now finds no non-compliance issues. The Spencer Owen Economic Development and Abatement Review Committee is directed to provide a copy of this recommendation to the property owner, the Owen County Auditor, and the Department of Local Government Finance. Duly resolved and adopted this 20th day of April 2026 by the Spencer Owen Economic Development and Abatement Review Committee, Owen County, Indiana, having passed by a vote of 4 in favor and 0 opposed. Present was Bruce Hamlin, Todd Gardner, Kurt Rosenberger, Ginger Core, and Marcy Johnson. Excused, Bob Taylor and David Risk. So if you have any questions, Andrew Henry is here and he can answer those for you.
Hi, Joe.
Hello. I'll vouch for Mr. Henry, and it's good to see when somebody does get a tax abatement, they take some of their savings and give back to the community, and I've seen that firsthand, so. Good for you.
Thank you.
Did we do that on a sliding scale?
We did,
Was
didn't
that
we?
180?
Yes.
Where are we at this year?
Is the second year 80?
I believe so.
Yeah, going, is that right?
Go back and look at his scoring system, yeah.
How many employees do you have? Chris?
We have 29 now. We've added a number of full-time positions. We've been able to hire several skilled machinists and train them. They're not working exclusively on the new equipment. They're working on a range of equipment, including the new equipment. We've also been able to get several brand new to us clients. We're actually even onshoring some precision work from Germany into the US because the supply chain and the speed of transit and other factors have made it uneconomic for certain parts that have been being made in Europe and imported into the US. Now we get a chance for that customer to make their parts for them here in the US.
Let me ask this question, I'm gonna ask it to the board. I was thinking somewhere in the near future, the state and Tom, are they gonna do away with personal taxes under $1 million?
It's 2 million.
2 million.
Business personal property, but that's triggered by your aggregate size, and he's beyond 2 million. So that part doesn't really come into play that I'm aware of. But if you had a small business that's very small and had only 500,000 in business personal property, they're exempt. That's just classified that way.
And what's your average pay per employee?
That really varies. We have part-time hourly employees all the way up to full-time salary employees. I believe our average pay calculated out by employee equivalency was around $27, $28.
You've got 2708 here.
And most of your people work or live in Owen County?
Half of our current employees, we have a number of remote employees as well. In order to have the technical expertise to do the design work we do, we've had to pull from technical firms in other states to assemble a team there.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve your abatement and following our sliding scale from last year.
Motion made by Steve, is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Nick. Any questions?
We appreciate him bringing his business to Owen County.
Yeah, we're glad to be here. And if you haven't come to the shop for a tour, I would appreciate hosting each of you. I'm really proud of the work we do. The equipment that we've installed this past year has made a big difference in our ability to take on very technically challenging work at a very high level. That's been kind of a wild ride because it's at the hard end of the scale of the kind of work we do, but we have a great team and they've done a great job with it. I think it's a really neat business that's not especially publicly visible, but this was our first year going to the Ellen Valley Career Day. Took a bunch of machined parts and talked with students basically nonstop. I lost my voice. Our table was not empty the entire time. We last year had 2 paid high school interns for the first time. We have 2 more paid high school interns this summer as well. It's a great chance for somebody who wants to have exposure to technical trades because there is such a wide range of what we can do with machining technology and software that it's a great chance. You know, Owen Valley has not as developed a machining trades program as some other high schools in Indiana, but it has more than a lot of the others do, and we're always happy to have. So we've had several groups of students from Owen Valley tour. We went to their career day. We've been donating some equipment. We had some pieces of equipment that we needed to get something larger, and rather than resell them or scrap them, we donated them to Patriot Manufacturing for use in their program there. So we've been working on consistently tightening that connection with the local high schools and making sure we get to career days, put the kinds of interesting manufacturing challenges and problems that we get to solve in front of students because they're interested by challenges. They're not interested by the thought of sitting in front of spreadsheets all day. They are interested about taking chunks of solid metal and making them into cool things.
I think that's what abatements are really for.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor? Motion carried. We have 2 other abatements, don't we, in the county, Burke County?
Owen Valley Winery and Materman, the last date for them to provide paperwork is Friday the 15th, and that'll be on your June agenda, just for the formal signing of them.
Okay.
They still need to submit theirs.
Okay. All right. Commissioners review requests.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
So, I've got a couple of things I'd like to talk about specific to the highway department. So, we lost 4 employees in the last month, true, to higher paying jobs. I wasn't aware of the starting salary, which I believe was 19, is that correct? We cannot compete at $19 an hour. We put out requests for applications, we got little to nothing, correct? So with that being said, a couple of things. Number one, we would like to reinstate the laborer position so that we can get some bodies into laborers' positions to help our current CDLs get some work done because we're hurting for numbers. I think we have 10 on the road right now.
Yes.
It's not enough. I think at one time this was 24, is that right?
Pretty close, yeah.
We're down 14 people. We still have the same amount of roads and the same amount of holes in these roads that we'd like to get fixed. With that being said, due to the lack of application, we have a couple of scenarios we'd like to look at. Those being a $4 increase, a $5 increase, and potentially a $9 increase to certain positions. Now, what I will say I'm not interested in is a $4 across the board because I think you need to earn that. The folks that are already here, I want them to have it. The ones starting out need to earn their way. And then there's another incentive program that I'm going to talk about here in a minute that would get them to this point sometime in the future. And that incentive program would be a CDL training, possibly through Wagglers, which is $2,300, I believe, and would require the potential employee to sign a commitment letter that they would be here a certain amount of time to offset the cost to the county of them acquiring their CDL, because what we don't want to do is get them their CDL and then immediately jump to another job. So we would require some sort of agreement between us. And I say all of that, and you guys can chime in whenever you want. We can't be competitive at $19 an hour. We can't do it. We can't even get applications. And if we do, you know, it's hindering us. It's hindering us bad.
Regardless of the pay, do you think just possibly it could be the work environment and not having a clear cut who's your boss?
So we addressed it at our last meeting, and we've put Chad in as the superintendent, and we combined two jobs, and we put Benita into that position. And we also gave them the back pay since they were doing those jobs anyway for the last 7 months. So that should clarify that for everyone who's in charge. We're going to reevaluate that in July and see if we've made progress on that side of it. So we've addressed that. Now we need to address getting people in these positions so that we can hit these roads with a little more force than what we are.
Not only that, I'm about ready to lose 2 more that I know of. Lowest offers $30 an hour. I understand why they're leaving. Take care of a family, $19 an hour, and then if you have your spouse on the insurance plan, it's killing them.
And it's, and try to stay out of it, but you know me, I can't. We're struggling. Numerous phone calls. I spend almost every day going out talking to people on these roads. Phone calls, emails, and going out myself. I was out today. Folks were in trouble. We're in serious trouble. I've met with B&B Paving, Milestone, Tucker Paving, Chip and Seal Companies, Evergreen, working with them to try to facilitate maybe some good costs and good prices to get some stuff done. Chip and Seal by far is our best avenue to go, other than the CCMG roads that get paved. But needless to say, you have to have the manpower to get it done, and I've talked to some of the guys that have left. It's not because they really didn't like the work. Yeah, there was some animosity for some time about this and that, but I don't think you have that now. It's just the fact that the pay of, 19 an hour. Jimmy, sorry, I don't remember your last name.
Patton.
He's an operator and he makes $22 an hour. And he pays $800 a month in insurance for his family. And, they go down the road, across the street or whatever and make more money. Henry Holster, the gentleman here, just told you that they're paying 27. And I know it's a different craft and different skill, but we have got to get some manpower to the county highway, because if he loses 2 more people, we're toast. It takes 5 people just to run the hot patch crew, stuff like that. You're down to 10 right now. We got bush hogging to do, we got ditches, culverts to do. We got CCMG, we just got our letter back from the state. CCMG, we got our $740-some-thousand. We're approved to start work on that. The 10 guys we got right now, all they can do is CCMG work to prepare. And the CCMG roads have to get done. And I know that maybe people here from White Road, I dealt with White Road, I've been dealing with it for several months, even dealt with it today too. It's a disaster. We're getting cost analysis, what it's gonna cost to chip and seal White Road from Well Flock all the way to the Monroe County line. Waiting on them prices to come in and stuff, but we need some manpower, desperately, we need some manpower. And at $19 an hour, we just can't keep it going. And I know money is not everything, and I think Norm stated that the people that are there get the increase now, but the people that's coming on will be at a different level because, you know, you kind of have to earn your keep, so to speak. And with the CDL thing, at the cost of $2,300, you get them CDL, get them their license and stuff like that. But it's got to be a commitment from them, whether it's a 2-year commitment that they stay with us or they have to reimburse us. Try to apply some sort of incentive to keep the people here. So I believe you got 3 case scenarios in front of you. That's just, you gotta do something, Joe. We're struggling.
Sam, is that per person? At $20-some hundred?
Yeah.
Per CDL.
Per CDL.
Per CDL?
But we'd want to require commitment from that person to stay a certain amount of time, you know, and it's a benefit. And if you get that type of benefit, and if you get the money up a little bit, it's not the answer to everything. I don't know. But we got to start, we got to make a start, because if we lose 2 more people, we'll shut County Highway down.
How long does it take the program to get their CDL?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, and I believe they quoted Norm a very good price because the lowest I've found was $3,500.
Yeah. It's an option that we're definitely looking at. We're looking at real hard. We can't keep up.
If a person would give a $4 raise, have you got people that wants to work?
I don't know about the new applicants. I'm more afraid of losing what I've already got than anything, because I've got 2 that I know have job offers at least $30 an hour that I'm trying to, hopefully this would help pad it and maybe like, you know what, is it worth leaving somewhere where I've already got seniority?
Right.
Financially, can you afford it?
Yes.
Okay. Norm, out of your programs here, or your plans here, which one would you prefer?
Well, the raises are the most impact right now. I think the CDL program has to happen, and we'll figure out a way to get it funded with whatever we need to do. Because here's the thing, if we reinstate the laborer's position, if we offer the incentive of the CDL, then we develop an operator, which is the positions that we said we wanted to only hire, but we're having trouble filling any of the positions at our current pay rate. So we gotta get the pay rate up so we can get applications. And if they start out laborers, they start out laborers. Then maybe we can offer the incentive of, hey, we will offer the CDL program for you. You go 3 weeks, and then at the end of that, you'll sign this agreement that says you'll be here X amount of time, and at the end of that, you're an operator, and we can then utilize you to drive our vehicles. Right now, we got vehicles sitting because there's no one to put in them. That's a problem.
What I was talking about on that is the 2, you've got 2 different ones.
And I don't have that in front of me.
All right, so you've got one that will probably say $4 increase, and these are on the base pay. Because I have been working with Polly, and she said that when any kind of increase had to be added to the base and not just to the individual.
Okay.
So Polly, I sent her one on Friday. It was the $4 increase, a $5 increase, and then a $9 increase to the current employees' pay. The spreadsheet you're looking at also show, if you look down where it says vacant, it says adding $4 to the base fee, but down there it says $21,809. That's increasing the higher end rate to $21 and from 19.
So that'd be a higher end price, Dave? Okay,
Yes, it would be an increase to the new hire,
to new hire,
would be
which,
21,809. And then for the base price, as I said, you can see there, for most of the guys, it's increased by $4, it's $23.809.
okay, I reckon what I'm asking is if I wanted to make a motion, I'd like to know which plan you prefer. Because I don't want to piecemeal it. I'd just like for you to say.
Well, of course, we'd love to see the 9, but I think the $5 an hour is doable.
What about, I mean, my question is, I know since it's there, you've not had hardly anybody there. I know you've got money this year, but what about next year? It's gotta be sustainable.
So on the second, the spreadsheet at the bottom, it's the Excel spreadsheet. I put together the numbers for the $5 an hour, and it shows you, compares what we had for, what's left in Lao for this year and what's gonna be carried over on the bottom of this spreadsheet. So I just kind of put some numbers together really quick. Down here shows you the appointed staff, which is Chad, the operators, and mine, and then I figured in a May average. It shows you how much the monthly is gonna be on that. It shows you if we paid out for 2026 the rest of the year, what that would cost us. And so there's gonna be a carryover of money that we have this year that's gonna carry over and it'd be encumbered into 2027.
Yeah, so we're thinking, we got one here for 5 to 7, or 5 or 7, for operators and foremen.
Yes.
Reflects $7 increase for the mechanic. Is it only one mechanic?
Yes, and that was talked about at the commissioners' meeting.
And you-
What's your mechanic being paid right now?
27, I thought, 26, no?
And he's been there for,
He's been there for forever.
Mechanic right
And Don, what would that do to our,
Right now, he makes $31
Salary.
and 31.889 is what the mechanic makes right now. But he's got 14, 15 years of longevity, so, yeah, more than that.
He started in 97.
The base pay for the mechanic is the same as the operators,
Oh, really?
$19 an hour.
and when he.
Right now.
When he retires, of course, he's been there for 30 years, 35. When he retires, you'll not hire a mechanic for $27 an hour.
Not a, no.
Now, where's the funds coming from? Where are you trying to maneuver money around?
You have this spreadsheet, down here it tells, it'll show you right now.
No.
I don't think we have that one.
We don't have that.
I might have one.
I mean, I've got that, but I don't think that's what she's talking about.
So I guess to answer your
that
question,
looks
Nick,
very tough.
long-term,
this one.
we will have to address it
Yeah,
during
I don't
budget
think
hearings
we've got that one.
eventually. The first year or two, we may be able to skate by, for lack of a better way of saying it. But it will have to be addressed eventually in a budget hearing with an increase. I'll have to be.
I also spoke with Sheila, and briefly, I think I talked with Polly about it. The 1173 fund can be used, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheila, it can be used to pay the wages as long as we're doing work on the roads. My suggestion was, like right now, they're putting in the ditches for CCMG roads. That money, those hours can be paid because we're doing road work.
So you're saying take this from where, Bonnie?
You can, it's gonna be a combination. Right now, it's all coming out of 1176.
1176, okay.
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion that we allow this documentation on the $5, which would give your mechanic $7 an hour additional pay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't want to be, just piecemeal this together tonight and go from one to the other. I think it seems to be your choice, isn't it?
That's in the it's in the middle.
Okay.
$5 one is sustainable.
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion, seeing that you have the finances, okay, at 1176.
Yes.
And I know I'm opening a can of worms. I want y'all to know that, but then again, I also know, I'm tired of yelling at the highway department about the road, so let's do something. Yeah, I make that motion then, that we grant that to the Highway Department, the request for the $5 and the $7 out of the 1176.
Motion made by Dick, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Steve. I would rather take this and just, like I said, I know you can do it this year. I know you can.
This year and next year is what it looks like.
Next year is, I still would like to see the numbers on how many positions we were gonna fill, what the numbers would be, versus what we got
Well,
from the state.
Sorry, the number of positions not on here, so we talked about 10 at the max. And then then they asked for 2 laborers at the commissioners meeting, so it's gonna be 2 laborers that we need to hire right now, and that is at the 17.501, and then 6 more operators. And if you guys approve it, then the 6 new operators would come in at $21.
But I mean, okay,
$21,809.
there are total positions, I think we've talked about this before, but total positions for 2027 would be how many? How
What
many?
we have here,
Okay.
that sheet that I sent you.
I know,
This,
but
what I did on this
I
is-
did not get that printed out.
Sheila had sent me the wages for the county, we got that, and I just plugged in the numbers on that, so that shows longevity, that shows COLA, it shows what FICA, and pretty much everything. These numbers aren't going to be exact, because I don't know how they do the longevity part of that, but this is about as accurate as I could get.
It's not 24, it's, actually, we did, but
So how many
you had
people are at the
26.
county highway garage currently?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, if you count Kevin
Okay. Because this shows
and the mechanic.
that there's 16 still there, unless this is just.
Well, you've got your vacant ones, though. Did
See,
you
that's
take away?
That's with the
Okay.
vacancies.
Right, vacant.
This shows 8 vacant.
Right, but if you look over, one of them should be 2 of them are laborer positions that we're trying to get help with right now. So right now, we just have what's listed and then adding in the total of 8 vacant.
And,
2 laborers and 6 operators.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Have we saved enough money to go ahead, if we did give them that raise, to cover the rest of this year? Or would they mess up on the budget?
What was your, Benito, what was your cost estimate for the cost per year of doing the $5 increase?
That's the 9,
I
5.
know we saved some because we didn't have that employee.
We don't have those.
Just
We don't
got
have
them today,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I've not had
So
a
to
chance.
finish out the rest of this year, is that what you're asking me?
I'm talking, what is the annual cost increase if you were to go the $5 an hour?
That one is.
Which would vary on the fact how many people are you gonna hire and how many
Right.
vacancies you'll fill.
So, if, and I'm going by this sheet, okay, if we filled all these positions, budget for 2027 would be $1,024,444.65.
So you don't have a cost, that's just your,
No, that's just, yeah.
yeah,
And
I'm-
that compares to, and I didn't bring the one I had with the budgets, because I looked at the FICA and I looked at PERF and what those costs would be, because and increased them also, but I just didn't bring that either.
and Commissioner Warner, you said that there was an idea of maybe tiering positions, where you have some people that are not paid as much until they,
Well, the laborers for sure. And then if you have a laborer and you can get them a CDL, then they become an operator, that would immediately move them. But I would like to see the whole thing tiered.
got it. So I just want to make sure I have the understanding of what you're doing with positions. So you would still have a laborer, you would still have an operator.
Right.
You'd set a pay for laborer, a pay for operator. You'd still have that distinction.
Yes.
Was there any other distinctions, or is that?
Well, that's the only 2 that we've still, I mean,
Okay.
we have to reinstate the laborer because we had said we weren't going to do anything but operators. We're finding that difficult. to fund CDL folks that will work at the pay we're offering.
Okay, got it. So we don't, because before when the way you described it, I thought we were looking at splitting some things further out and
No,
needing
no.
different, like, junior versus senior,
No, we're not
different
trying to-
levels, but,
yeah.
okay,
We're not
good.
trying to
That
muddy the
simplifies
water.
things.
Yes.
And no new job descriptions, so that's a
No,
good thing.
no, we shouldn't need any.
So that, I mean, if I plug in $5 for everything, just simplicity, and would you have the same number of positions, or would you be reducing or cutting out a certain number?
As far,
It'd be the 20.
it'd be this, right?
Yes.
Because Kevin is listed on there, Kevin Shaw, he's the foreman, so he's listed on this, but, I mean, because he gets paid out of the same amount, he's an operator, but he's also listed as a foreman, so he does have a bigger pay increase.
Because right now, I've got 22 positions, and that includes the assistant superintendent that Chad was in.
Yeah.
So you'd be eliminating, that would be vacated.
Yes.
So now you're down to 21.
Yes.
Okay, and you're gonna keep the same 21 positions? Okay.
Yes.
Rough math, I'm coming up, it's about 220,000 a year to do this.
Increase.
At
Increase,
$5,
yeah.
right.
220.
And again, that's rough math, just in the mix of documents that we have. I'm intrigued by the idea, but my concern is I would like to take closer look at these numbers. I'd want specifics and know exactly what we're doing and come up, because there's also a $2 difference for certain positions, correct? In the motion?
One position's only $2.
Was it the mechanic then that?
Mechanic.
So that's another two, that's not in this figure, but that would probably be another $5,000, $6,000 to the cost. So maybe, let's say $225,000 a year. The concern I have is that the budget this year was cut in order to offset the backlog of claims that were unpaid from the year prior. And so are we caught up on that?
Yes.
So there's no more of that. The cash balances have been increasing as a result, which is good.
Yeah, we have Evergreen is the only one.
How much?
The
We're
last
making
payment-
payments on that.
There's a payment due in May, the last payment should be February of 2027, I think. We pay $20,000 every quarter.
Okay, so there's another 100,000 or whatever
It's
maybe there.
81,000 and some change.
Okay. The cash balances have been improving, is that correct? Because we've been utilizing the edit money that we approved to offset some cost and shore those balances up. But at the end of the day, our budget is normally matching what the revenue is for that fund. So whatever the state gives us, we budget for it and we intend to spend it, and that includes wages. So the question is assuming we're back to an equal, let's say 0 point where you're spending as much as you're taking in, where are we going to come up with the $225,000 per year obligation to pay for these increases? Because that's only going to eat into your cash balance and bring you back down to 0 over time. Where are we going to make up for that cost? How are we going to pay for this?
I have not had a chance to meet with Sheila on all of the options. Like I said, I do know that we have, and you're talking about 2027, correct? Not for this year.
I mean, you could use cash to offset it now, but it's still a cost. It's still going to be
Right.
something we're going to have to cover. But 27 would be a clean budget year where we'd have to increase it high enough to cover these costs. So where do we come up with that extra?
Just
You want me,
not-
you
can we
want
do
me
it
to
by
do
not
that, or you want me to
filling-
talk about the 200,000?
Okay,
Can we do-
so last year again, and this year still, we've been paying and playing catch up. So they're 3.79 million, I don't have exact numbers. Am I confident that we are probably going to come up with another $250,000+ when we do the levied funds and that part of it this year? I think the fact that we're not paying past bills is going to free up some of those funds to offset this. Unfortunately, it's also one of them that we're not gonna know exactly until the budgeting process gets here. We would know by October. To Do I feel we're going to make it? Yes. And the state is allowing us to include our 1176 and our 1173 cash balances when we turn in our proposals this year. So currently, there's 1.6 in one of the funds and 600 and something in the other. So they have plenty to carry forward to compensate salaries. There might not be able to be an increase in projects. There might not be able to be, you're gonna have to rely on your 1135 bridges and those other funds to do your road projects in. If there's extra money, you'll have to come back to the council per road or per project for additional appropriations. That would be where you wouldn't be able to increase your 2027 budget in order to pay for your salaries.
But we need, if we did give them that now, when it come up budget time, they couldn't hardly expect much of a raise for next year.
Well,
Right.
we wouldn't come for a raise.
Yeah, this is going
You see what I mean?
Right.
We wouldn't do that at budget time.
If we get this
If we're
increase
that
now
close
for
this year, we'd be in
2026,
trouble
we're
next
not gonna ask, there's not gonna be increases, we wouldn't be coming back
Right.
for the budget until 2027 to adjust that.
You know, it's a gambling way you shoot it, Burl. You know how it is. If we don't have the people to do the work,
Yeah.
we can't get the work.
Oh, I understand. I understand that part. I'm just wanting to make sure we got the money there to do it the rest of the year. I know you need another 10 people if you could.
Yeah,
We can afford it right now, but we can't.
Yeah, the devil's advocate of it is the budget wasn't fully funded from the state, and we had to pull money elsewhere to match that, and that's only sustainable one time. So if that happens again next year, and we have a full staffing out, now you are cutting back a lot. So maybe one of the options here is, on the labor part of it, is not converting those to CDL drivers. You still have to have somebody hold the shovel. And then
True.
someone, and then you may be able, if you got 10 guys doing the job of 20 guys right now, I'm all for, they deserve their rate. However, do we have to get those 20 guys? Can we do it with 18?
So here's the thing, with the labor positions, and we may come back 2 months from now and say, you know what, if we had 2 more of those, maybe we don't need 2 CDL positions. The CDL is just another option that we can have in our toolbox to say, hey, this person is going above and beyond. Why don't we offer that to this person and get us another operator?
Well, you need to take care of the ones that work.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right now, I feel like we're kind of pigeonholed into this is what we got and this is what we got to do, and we've got nobody applying. We have to get bodies, for lack of a better way of saying it. We got to get people out here to work.
I also think that if you have the money right now, I think Joe's comment was, if you have to cut back in a year, we're gonna have to cut back, we'll have to relook at everything else, but all the stuff that needs to get done, and Owen Valley, or Owen County Charter is full of the commissioners' numbers right now
Yeah.
for roads.
So I suggest they come to the commissioners meeting.
Oh, that's every post, here's the commissioners' numbers.
Yeah, I know.
We're popular guys.
But like I said, this list here that's got 21 on it, that includes the road foreman and it includes the mechanic. So that, again, that takes it down to 19 operators / laborers.
I agree with what Joe was saying, but I need to go back to something Anton said, because I was confused. The state cut our budget $600,000. Did our budget get cut because we was $1.5 million behind in paying bills? Or did
Yes,
we-
your cash was too low.
Okay.
So your
So-
permission to spend is what was cut.
So this year, we can include 1176 and 1173, and we have good cash balances in those right
Yes.
now. So it's unfortunate, we've had this conversation before, that the state will budget your money, but you can't spend it till July 1st. We've had this discussion. It doesn't seem right to me, because you gotta have so much 1176 and so much 1173 in June, when they audit you, If you got the money, you're good to go, then you start spending. So it backs you in the corner.
Yeah, it's a frustrating position to be in because you want to maintain what you've got. You can't maintain it because you don't have enough cash. And they don't want you to be zero or in the red, so they're going to cut back your permission to spend at that point.
If you get the $5 that they got the most on the floor for tonight, and I agree with what Joe says. If we do our budget, which is coming around the corner, we apply our budget and stuff, and what Steve and Joe both said, if the state cuts our budget, and the council, let's say they cut it $600,000 again next year, and the council doesn't have the money to shore up that budget, we have to make adjustments at the county highway. So the county highway people need to understand, they may get it tonight, and hopefully our 1176 and 1173 fund, it'll be good at the end of June. Hopefully the state will see that and say, hey, great, we're not cutting your budget. Or maybe give us a little more. If they do cut the budget and the council doesn't have the money next year to shore it up, then we have to go to the drawing board and say, hey, this is where we're at. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I guess the biggest thing is the raise right now is for the guys I have. We're not
right
bringing in the new operators and the new laborers at that higher rate. I'm just trying to take care of what I got and keep what I have.
Yeah, we got 12 people.
Because honestly, they've been through hell now.
So you've got 12 in there right now, is that?
Yeah, no, we're trying to take care of that. We have the money to fund it.
It's about 225. The other thing to think about is, this is the second request we've gotten of this nature where we talked about jailers and they were having similar issues because they were losing people and all that. So just broader question, to the council is are we going to, or should we, commit to an increase for all positions in all categories? So, do we go ahead and make a jump and say, okay, well, let's go to the midpoint, for example, for all positions, which would be substantial. It would cost about $700,000 to do that across all funds, highway being one of them. But do you bite the bullet and do that, or are we going to have these individual requests at every single meeting?
They're gonna keep coming.
Right.
And my concern here is, okay, we did $4 for the jailers. If we do $5 here, are the rest of them gonna come back and want, okay, yeah. That's my concern. I think I'd be more, I wanted to have a little time to look at this and make sure it was sustainable for next year. Or even look, like you said, into making, bringing everybody up so we're not constantly making this juggling where, okay, who's gonna come this time?
Well, the only thing is,
We're leaking water now.
I understand that, but so is everybody else. And I think that at the end of the day, you don't want to sink the ship.
No, we
is
don't.
the problem, and I think that's the direction we're heading. But my concern is if you or the commissioners would have come to us a couple months ago and said, hey, we want to work with you and come up with a plan, and you came to us and said, okay, we want to get everybody to this midpoint. I'm just throwing this out for example, midpoint. We want to do X, Y, and Z to do that. We in turn will vacate, 2-3 positions along what Councilman Fry was saying to offset that cost and come up with something cost neutral that fits within the system, that hits the midpoint, that's sustainable. I would be a lot more receptive to that. However, that's not what's happened here. We've got a Friday late submission. We don't have all the details in front of us. We don't really have an exact cost estimate because what I did was very rough. I think I would rather we give it more thought, but if it is the wishes of the council proceed, it's, at your own risk, I mean, keep in mind, it's gonna cost us $600,000 we don't have to bring all positions in our system to the midpoint. This is beyond midpoint, this is high point. Same with the jailers. And I just think we're setting ourselves up for,
Jailers are more important than
No.
my-
well, and I didn't vote for it,
Exactly.
so I'm not a part of that discussion. But what I'm trying to say is that, are you gonna create a sustainable situation, financial situation for the county by continually doing the one department at a time decision-making? Because you've got to keep the bigger picture in mind. And I have nothing against highway or jailers, but you've got to keep the bigger picture in mind, because you're going to get yourself to a point where in 2020 or 21, we wound up in a crisis where we were running out of money, and we wound up having to cut positions and curtail pay and hold back payments for people. I don't want to be in that position again at all. That's a horrible position to be in.
The low point, midpoint, and I've just got one of my guys here, what he makes, he is at the extreme low on the low point, is what he makes. What he makes an hour. Right
New
now.
hire?
He's been here a year.
Okay.
And he also pays out insurance. So he's not even making that $21.
22, 21, yeah.
Yes, he's not even bringing that home because he has insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not been in this long enough, but I think that's really unacceptable that we've got this guy who has a lot of talent, he's very good at his job, and he's at the very bottom of the low point. He's not even in the middle of the low point.
One of my main men that I'm getting rid of.
Yes.
The main thing that I say about the county employees, they haven't had the employees that they need to get the roads right, for one thing, and they haven't had the extra money to even take care of the rock and stuff. But I think that's the reason I asked them a while ago that if they would ask for more money when we budgeted. And then I think they need it worse than anybody else for getting the county. There's more people bitching about the roads right now than anybody else.
Any of you guys want to come out and sit and answer a phone with me for
Oh,
2 days?
I know the whole, and I think that we need to say we might have to cut you next year, because we might not have the money next year for the county. But let's try to get these roads back up in halfway decent shape, because there's a lot of roads in bad shape, and they can't do it without help.
I think Earl's
I've got a question on it.
Because when we're gonna come to budget time, and we're not gonna ask for a pay increase if it goes through tonight. But we're gonna have to look at the money spent at the end of the year. I mean, we're gonna have to see where the cash balance is.
Yep.
Then we're gonna have to see what the state says about the budget. And if there's a situation comes up where, it says, well, we may have to cut an employee or something like that, that's the gamble that we take. But I'd rather take the gamble now and get the guys like Jimmy and what's your name again?
We have other names.
And you can do a lot more in the summertime
I'd
than you can in the winter.
rather give the guys, the 12 people that we have now, a boost right at this moment and take our gamble to the end of the year to see what happens with the budget. And if we have to cut, we cut. If we don't, praise God, we win. But we can't, if you lose any more employees, you lose 2 more employees, we just can't.
On the amount of guys we have now and the amount that's budgeted, what happens if we had went all year without hiring any additional or given any raises, that additional money that was set there for salaries, what happens?
It stays in the
Cash balance.
I think we are in a crisis. I mean, you travel the roads, we're in a crisis. And I think I would like to see us address this with the commissioners knowing that if this thing don't fly at budget time, we might have to take a turn. I hate that. I would hate that sincerely, but I think we gotta start somewhere and do something and make some kind of progress on this thing because it's not gonna get better if we don't.
Joe, I think this might, so I have a copy of the 1176, it's the regular wages. Our amount for our appropriation at the beginning of the year was $895,759. That was for our regular wages. Our cash balance, our ending balance in that account as of Friday is $669,000. So we still have in regular wages $669,000. And then when you go over here and look at the spreadsheet for the raises, it kind of tells you how much that's going to be there. I think if we give these guys, if you take out the vacancies and you just go by the 12 guys, we still have plenty of money this year to cover that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about this year at all.
So,
And next year, I don't, like I said, I haven't had a chance to sit down with Sheila and look at the numbers and our cash balances and see what we've got, but as far as the chart, as far as our expenses go, I do a spreadsheet and I send it to Polly because she's our liaison, and I give it to the commissioners. And it's every line item in the 1176. It shows you each month how much we spent and that, whether it be equipment, whether it's been repaired, whether it's been supplies, and it breaks it down each month how much we spend. And I balance that with Lau, and then it shows you what our current year-to-date total is and compares what our balance is. And I feel like we're sitting pretty good.
And this year I call for a vote. I think we just send that out.
one more thing, just on budgeting. So last year we did get cut, and it was because we hadn't paid bills. We were $1.5 million in the hole. That's not happening this year, and as long as I'm sitting anywhere in the seat, it won't happen. We have to keep our cash balances up so that we're not having to suffer that again. Part of that is keeping your hand on top of what you're spending, which we vowed to do. If we hadn't, we shouldn't be in these positions. So I don't foresee us being in that situation again, and hopefully they don't cut us. Now, the unknown to that is 27's kind of a shadow right now, and that's schools, counties, everything in the state. So we can't speak to that intelligently right now, but what we can tell you is we're not going to put ourselves in a shape where we are going to get cut, and we know we're going to get cut because we did this. We didn't pay our bills. We have a lousy cash balance. We talk about cash balance at every meeting to try to keep that number as high as we can so we don't have to suffer that $600,000 drop in our budget. If we avoid that, this is sustainable in my opinion. Ultimately, that's you guys' decision to make because you guys are the financial end of the.
Can I make a comment?
Sheila's got something to say.
We have public comment at the end, and we have to do
I
that.
think this would affect your vote. I'm a Pass County councilman. Am I recognized? I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak here because I have followed what's going on Facebook, for instance, and there are a huge number of people that are not asking for new jail. They're not asking for drug support. They want to be able to get to and from their homes. I've lived in this county for only 38 years. I don't have 8 generations behind me. But in 94, 95, me and 2 people turned into 24, which turned into half of the voting, and I got elected on one issue, roads. And they weren't a bit better now than what they were then. And I have seen scam and graft go on in this county. And unfortunately, if you're talking about raising people's property taxes, if you're talking about potentially raising people's income taxes, I don't think they're going to appreciate that. If you're talking about expanding population with the roads that we've got, I don't think that's going to work either. Well, I was one of the very few people that put out a survey on everybody on this county. Volunteers, we hand-delivered surveys. Got a huge number of them back, and we asked the question, what they thought about the Owen County roads, and if they'd be willing to pay for the wheel tax. Because that says specifically that materials and labor are supposed to be purchased with that and nothing else. And they agreed with large numbers, and it's still on the books as I understand it. So my point of view is, speaking for the citizens, who would probably elect me again if I decided to go for it, is that we need to put some effort towards this, because it doesn't have to require a whole road to be paved. If you go out to White Road, for instance, here's a 50-foot section that's got holes in it, this big around. I can show you pictures. You go another 3/4 of a mile, and here's a 20-foot section that's got huge holes. There's 4 places between Ratliff Road and Little Clock Road that need attention. It's not the whole damn road. And if you listen to these people that are on Facebook, they don't want their whole road either. They just want to have some holes patched, quite possibly with a roller and some real asphalt that will stick in the ground. Because it doesn't work if you just throw loose gravel on it. It's right back out of the holes. So my point of view is, I saw how much stuff had funds taken from one project and shuffled over to another. And I recently looked at the books to see where there's money just sitting there. Not to say I know all about it. What I'm getting at is, this is something that is extremely needed for the county, and that you people are here, as are the commissioners, to serve the county. So it would seem to me that there needs to be some effort put forth to actually raise the standard of living for the good people of Owen County, because right now they don't have it in roads. So I'm hopeful that you guys and the commissioner and the road crew will put it together to help the citizens, because they're the ones that vote for you.
Could you state your name for the record?
Jerry Reynolds.
Okay, Jerry.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I call for a vote.
Sheila.
Sheila.
I just want to see the number. I want to see
Sheila
the
has
exact
something.
Yeah.
So when they submitted a budget this year, they submitted a full budget, thus the $600,000.
And it was for 26 people, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
If you limit them to the 12 that you're saying now, you're gonna gain $100,000 just off of insurance, because you put $10,000 per employee for insurance. So you're gonna have to submit a more accurate budget in order to compensate, but right there's $100,000 of the $225,000 that you're looking for. Your PERF, your FICA, those are all gonna adjust and go down as well.
If you don't fill.
Right, but I think limiting them, and I hate to say you can only have 12 people or whatever, but you're sitting here saying if you can get the money for them and you're gonna try and make it work and retain them, they've got to turn in a more accurate budget. You can't turn in a full budget and then say, okay, we can use the money
Plus
for this and this, because that's where you're pulling it from now too. So you wanna make sure they don't turn in a full budget and go back and hire 24, 26 people total, because they know you're not gonna be able to afford that $5. So you're
So are you
counting.
saying we should vacate positions, or?
The goal is to get 20 people.
Okay, so you don't want to cut it, because you have to have it budgeted to cover the cost.
We have to, I mean, he has to, I don't know what 20 is the magic number and all that, we've got that warranty, maybe it's 18 people. But we have to have enough bodies on the road to be more than one place at a time.
Last year's budget was based on the 2026 budget is based on 26 people. The 2027 budget's gonna be based on, counting everyone, 22.
So what are you cutting?
Can we freeze?
Well, it's because if you look back on that spreadsheet, I mean, we cut the 26 last year, so we don't have an assistant superintendent position anymore. In the office, we're not gonna have 2 people. There was the administrative assistant and the administrative secretary. There's just my position now. So there's a position there has been removed and combined. So there's 2 positions right there.
There's a chunk of your money right there,
Yes.
just those 2 positions.
Well, can we, so would it be appropriate to also freeze to maybe the 22 positions instead of the 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd have to, in the motion, you'd have to vacate the assistant position and vacate whatever position,
The administrative
secretary or whatever.
position.
I don't think you also need to resolve what you're actually doing moving forward, do we need a new job description then?
It's already, we've got one put together, I sent those.
We'll need to
you've
take
got a
some kind of
copy over
action
there.
on that to
And
formalize
yes.
your part.
Yes.
Yours is easy because there's already a superintendent. There's already a job description for that. There's also the question of back pay and doing an additional appropriation for that. And I think that's a good idea because you've pretty much been in that role for months, but never got paid for it. I think that we need to make sure there's a commitment to cover that. Was there also unused vacation and time off? Do we have a dollar amount on that?
I have not, I mean, I had it.
Because that's gonna
because
have
we
to
got
be
a new pay period
liquidated
getting
and
ready to hit
paid.
right now, so I would have the numbers after they put in the payroll this week, I will have those numbers.
Because that needs to be paid. When you
Yes.
go from a non-exempt to an exempt, you're not gonna have any time off in terms of on paper.
Right.
And so whatever you had unused, you should be paid for that.
Right.
So we'll need numbers on that for an appropriation.
No, we don't have to have an appropriation, there's still gonna be money in the budgets.
We just do it out of regular wages?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
but we'd still have to authorize it
Yes,
and
yes,
make
but
it happen.
it's their regular wages, and then for the superintendent, we had budgeted $65,662. So that portion has not been used, so we will use that when he goes to his,
And that's just moving him over with his
yes, moving him over, and
longevity
we'll
and
use that money.
whatever
It's
that
already
new
in the
number
budget.
is. Not
Like
changing the pay,
38,000, give or
but
take.
doing the details of your
Yes.
service and all that stuff.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure that gets completed, because
So
both
that's-
of you have done a great job stepping up on that.
Again, the commissioners approved at their meeting last Thursday to appoint them to and 7 months of their back pay. So that.
As long as we have a
process-
report with the dollar amounts, I think that would be
Yes.
important for our June meeting.
And
Um,
then you have a job description for hers combining the two, however, we needed to go to Addie for final approval, but that was.
I think it'd probably go from a Comet C to a Comet D is what that classification would be, and there's a pay difference there, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you add that to your motion of freezing?
He's probably forgotten what, did you forget what it was?
Whatever I think we need, and I have no problem with that. I would really like to say this, being a former commissioner, the responsibility of putting together their program, I really think falls on their shoulders. I know we will put the money there, but if they take the money that we give them and they don't use it right, and we need to cut some people off, these are things that they have to oversee. And I believe with all that's going on out there today, I'm just making a motion that we proceed with something.
You got a motion on the floor for $5.
Yes.
So were we adding to that?
It needs amended, we need to have it set in there that we're freezing at least 4 positions. Which, I mean, it's.
You
It'd take a
want-
long, if you're already struggling to get one,
We're good.
finding another 14's there.
So freezing it
what
at
was the top
12?
number, Joe?
At the
Can
12
that
total?
just be done after this vote? And
Yes.
Okay.
we'll do the
Vote
job
would be
description, the
alright.
back pay.
We'll
Let's
vote
do
on
another
it.
motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Okay,
Okay.
so restate your motion for the record.
That would grant them the
$5.
$5, and that would put the mechanic up to $2 additional. Is that right?
yes,
5 and 7.
5 and 7.
yes.
And what we'll do is we'll just take the base and the COLA and then add those numbers to those accordingly, is what we're gonna end up doing. So the total amount would reflect
And
that.
this should, I mean,
Yes.
Pretty close.
Close
this
to
is
it.
pretty close to it.
All right. All those in favor?
Were you adding,
You wasn't adding.
huh?
All those in favor was what, 4. All those opposed? Motion carried. And I,
Danny,
like I said, I absolutely feel the need, and I do, understand the need for increase. I'm just not sure I would go with the $5, and I just wanted to have some time to make sure it was sustainable. That's the only reason I voted against it, so.
So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the back pay that the commissioners were working on for the position of, it was assistant superintendent, switching to superintendent, and the office position from secretary to admin, or whatever the new terminology is, including the liquidation of unused time off that the assistant superintendent had, and approval of the new job description. And, real quick, clarify, so we are not having the assistant, we're going to vacate the assistant's position.
Yes,
And then we're going to vacate the secretary's position.
correct.
What are the other two we're vacating? What's the other two you were mentioning? Or are
I
there?
don't think it was a vacate as much as it was a freeze.
Freeze.
And then freeze all others.
No, not all of them.
So two of them.
Two.
And are they
They
operators,
still need to get up to 16 to 18 folks.
operators or laborers?
Operating.
Okay, so, and then freeze, which means do not hire two of the operator positions, leave them open. That's my motion.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm confused. Are you freezing the amount of operators, or are you freezing the amount of people that are? There's a difference. Operators that are different pay, or you want, Joe was talking about, freezing at 22?
Are you talking about freezing it at what's on this spreadsheet, Joe?
I don't have that spreadsheet.
Well, why don't we just do this? In the motion, we'll freeze two positions of your choice. So if you have someone you're moving around, how's that work? Yeah, and then, but just don't fill two of them, leave them blank. How's that make sense?
And I want to emphasize one thing, please. I want you to make sure and keep track of it so that you don't hire too many and keep within what we,
That's no problem.
what we okayed, okay?
And then what about, real quick, what about the CDL thing? Are we entertaining that? Or do you want to handle that separate?
We need to get the agreement done. The lawyer's working on that now.
So we'll do that later.
Yeah, that, we can come back to that, because it's not as mission critical as getting people right now.
All right, so the motion stands with those parts too.
Okay, can you restate the motion
Two,
there?
okay, I want to make sure I'm understanding. So we're gonna do 2 laborers and only 4 operators. There's, yes, that leaves 2 operators vacant, correct?
Two positions.
It was,
Okay, so I guess we'll have to restate the motion. We're going to vacate assistant superintendent and secretary. We're going to authorize the back pay for both people and the unused sick time for the assistant superintendent becoming superintendent. We're going to approve the job description for the administrative position. We're going to allow them their choice of freezing 2 positions. It could be a laborer and an operator, it could be 2 operators, it can be 2 laborers. That's up to them.
2 positions.
They're just gonna make sure that 2 of them are not filled.
2 positions out of how many?
Yeah.
26.
Out of the current that you have.
There's
Okay,
confusion.
yes,
Out of the current vacant spots, we're gonna
Yeah.
freeze 2 of them.
right.
yes,
We're not vacating them. That way budget time, they're still there.
yeah,
So you're only gonna hire 6.
that is
All right,
correct,
6 instead of 8.
correct.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Steve, is there a question? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Hallelujah.
And who seconded it?
Thank you guys very much.
Carol? Steve?
Thank you.
All right, let me give you a list of roads real quick.
No, we already got that
We need to keep a running total.
list. Yeah,
We could get
I
another
will.
30 minutes to an hour.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate for everything you do.
Thank you. I tried.
Okay, Nick needs a break. 10-minute break.
Thank you.
I'll walk you down there today.
I'll get you a chart.
Jerry, haven't seen you for years.
Hey, no.
7 hours a day. 7:30 to 3. And you can overhead getting this stuff set up in the park. I'll show you where it is. On this wall. Or you guys, if I can get more loads, that'd be great. I don't want to overrun it. No, you need to do whatever you can do. I was in this stuff with the union.
Okay, we are back on. Mike's back on. You got hitting at times? All right. All right, I call it back to order. On to new requested additional appropriations and transfers. Okay, the sheriff? Sheriff's Fund for $2,216 for equipment.
She turned it in as a transfer, but she was trying to take it out of revenue, which makes it an additional appropriation.
It could be a transfer, right?
But it could be a transfer, you have enough in some of your other line items if you want to do a transfer.
Transfer?
Okay. Let me pick a line item.
Dealer's choice.
Hey, I suggest you take it out of Ryan's pay.
Oh.
And I'll take
Ouch.
yours in return.
Ouch.
What is that for? What kind of equipment? Does anybody know?
It just says equipment was what she turned in.
Well,
All right, well, the remaining two concern care of patients and inmates, which is juvenile detention and costs for those, which we can't do a thing about.
right.
And interpreter, which is a holdover for a grant, which we've done multiple times over the years. So I'm going to make a motion that we proceed in advertising the additional appropriations as shown for those two items,
For the two items
probation and
and
court.
okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Anton, seconded by Joe. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
That was easy. On salary, compensation summaries, I'm going to make a motion that we allow the president to sign off on those.
Motion made by Anton, seconded by Joe. All those in favor? Motion carried. So what are we doing about the 2,216?
That's a transfer.
Transfer? Do we have to,
And we'll, no, you don't, you acknowledge it's there.
Okay, just
I'll
acknowledge
look
it.
at them and figure out which one.
okay. I still would like to know what it was, for the record. All right, on to Municipal Unit Strategics Task Force.
So the first question on that, and many of you have probably read what Sheila sent and what the AIC has sent, but it is highly recommended that we do participate and have one of those. The suggestion, however, is waiting until later in the summer to do that, because there's going to be new data that we're waiting on that
Right.
will allow us to better identify the amount of revenue and how that'll impact the other units of government. I think we'll be in a much more informed position later in the summer to do that with the two town members. But should we go ahead and set a date, or do we want to kind of just wait another month or so and kind of see where we're at?
Is that just gonna be 3 people then?
Technically, there's 3. There's a representative from the council and then a representative from each town, possibly the clerk treasurer, for example, and maybe the auditor. So the 3 fiscal officers are a part of that. But to be honest, I would highly recommend that we just simply advertise those as a session where all of us can attend, so that we can meet and all be there to listen and talk and suggest and work through that. It's more like a work session than anything. At the end of the day, the 3 individuals that are on that committee are going to be the ones that vote on a recommendation, and that's what ends up going to the full council, the town boards, and assuming it's unanimous, that all goes to the state, and they're going to utilize that data and information when they're considering legislation in the spring and when they're considering what to do with our rates down the road. So that's my suggestion on the MUST committee.
Yeah, because if you you are penalized if you don't. Isn't that correct?
I think so. I don't have that code reference, but I've heard that, like Jeff mentioned,
Right.
multiple sources. We don't want any of our local units, not just us, but the towns and stuff, to just artificially lose out on 0.2% in some way. That's valuable to all of us. So I think it's important that we do participate in that.
Make a motion to appoint
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I would actually not do that.
Yeah.
Simply because that's in your district is the town of Spencer, and then there'd be a town representative.
Yeah, I mean, we're all gonna be involved.
Right.
I
Yeah.
actually think you shouldn't be on there.
I think technically Sheila should be on it as the fiscal officer. to be
I like
honest.
that idea.
But we'll all be contributing and helpful to the discussion, so.
Give that back to me.
No, not yet.
Oh,
Says the council member doesn't.
I thought I lost it.
I don't know that, but
Maybe we just need to wait.
yes,
and
I
find
would
out a little
suggest
bit
we
more.
wait, but,
Let's do that.
okay.
So let's just table that till next.
For another long meeting.
Oh, I don't think
Sounds
that.
good.
Okay, if nothing further on that, elected officials and department head comments. Anybody in?
Just want to say thank you.
I do want to thank Clerk Stutzman for, we had a primary election, and there was a lot of moving parts for that. There were some changes in vote centers, there was a lot of things that were being shuffled, and I know she was very concerned early on about finances and making sure things were covered, and I think at the end of the day, it worked out very well, so, okay.
Ryan?
I have several things that are broke in my jail. My water heater went out. It's $25,000 to replace it. I'm living off one right now. We're trying to get by because we don't want to replace it. So we're trying to get by with one by doing scheduling. But if something happens with that one, they were installed at the same time, then we're in big trouble. To fix it is $15,000 and to replace it is $25,000.
Is it tankless?
No. No, they're massive.
Good size, yeah. I think I remember.
And the bad part about that, he's got two of them, they're side by side, and they run dual purpose. And with one being down, I don't care if we get 20 inmates, 40 inmates, it's gonna strain it tremendously.
It is felt.
We're scheduling blocks right now so that we don't run into a problem. So we're trying to schedule blocks when they can run hot water. But like I said, they were installed at the same time, so if it goes out, I got $50,000.
Now, if I remember correctly, Commissioner Hobbs, wasn't there a water heater or some kind of water-related thing we did like a decade ago? Was it the water heater, or was it another type of?
Well, we put in 2 new water heaters, but I think I was the maintenance guy then, and I don't remember, Anton.
It's been a while,
It's been a
but
while.
I wondered if it was still also water heaters.
How
But
many gallon is it?
There was a chiller.
oh, maybe that was it.
$80,000 for children.
I think that was
We
it.
just had our chiller fixed.
Okay.
How many?
And I think it's 25,000
They're
or
big ones.
18,000, something like that before.
Lovely.
We're gonna have to pay for it.
I think I did.
Sheriff, what happens if that one goes out right now and they're both out? What are we looking at if that happens?
Cold shower.
Cold shower. I understand that.
Well, we can't. We have to provide warm showers. We cannot do that by DOC standard.
Probably have to have a portable unit.
We're in big trouble. They do have some in stock, so it would take a few days, but we'd get one, but,
Is there?
let's just not say.
But we
that's
have.
Okay.
Right.
My assumption is there probably is a portable, it's something we'd have to tap in, let it run until the service ran back up. But it's rental fees and money, it's
Yeah.
money.
It's all money.
It's all money.
It just is, yeah.
We used to eat it on the stove. Water on the stove.
He doesn't have a stove big enough to use water.
Your stove at home's bigger than mine.
So Sheriff White, you said to replace one of them was how much?
25,000.
25, okay.
But you say, Ryan, one could be repaired, or the one could be repaired?
It can for 15, it can be repaired for 15. They don't know how long it would take to get parts to repair it. They said they don't have those in stock, they have to order them, they have no idea how long it would take to get those. So I'm just trying to limp it in hopes that we build a jail. But if not, we're gonna have to spend money.
Even at that, you know,
You're still, what, a year or two out?
What about buying the parts for the one?
That's what he said, you can't get
Yeah,
them.
he said it was gonna be 15,000.
But it may take,
No, that's better than twenty pounds, you're gonna tear it out anyhow. I can get the parts coming.
but if he could use, I don't know, not, of course. Congratulations to the sheriff on the election, too, it's a fine job. Appreciate it, and everybody needs to get behind it, but still a lot of stuff coming up, but with the hot water heaters being out, and I don't know what kind they would need in the new jail, Sheriff, I'm not sure. Maybe something we could look at through the design, right, to see if they could get one installed in the old jail, if they could retrofit to the new jail. I mean, we're 2 years out, the best case scenario, we're 2 years from opening the new jail anyway. 18 months if everything went well. So I don't know if we could retrofit that one to make it work or not.
Yeah, I don't know, plumbing is not my specialty.
It's gonna be tough for him to run on one hot water heater for 18 months. Thanks.
And my numbers are gonna increase summertime. So my jail numbers are gonna go up. But we'll do what we can.
You have a current bill
I have a current bill
pending. Do you remember how much that is, the one you have now?
from HFI.
Yes.
It is $17,956.74. That was to fix the heater slash AC for the blocks because something went out and they couldn't figure out what it was and they had to keep testing and figuring stuff out. They figured out what was broken, got it repaired. But they still had to come back several times, so I don't know how long it'll be fixed.
So can I make a suggestion to go ahead and do an additional appropriation to include the 25,000 and that 17, maybe up to 40,000? Let's get it advertised. The 25,000 would go in a specific line item, so it cannot be spent on anything but the water heater. And then the other 17 for the current bill that is sitting there. That puts you ahead of the game, takes us through to your June meeting. If he doesn't need the 25, it's sitting there, it'll roll over in the cash, but it's there because it would be an emergency to get it ordered if it was to completely go out.
so we already have a line item budgeted in correctional facility for maintenance.
Yeah,
Is there money
150,000,
left
that's what I was
there? And is that we could tap into that right now without any appropriation? We may need more later, depending on what happens. But if there's money there, why don't we go and just use it? Because that's what it's for.
That's what it's for.
It's in 1233. It's line 30700 for maintenance. And it was designed for these problems because we knew they'd be coming up. And then keep an eye on it because, July, there could be some other $20,000 issue. So,
Just had a water, we had a water.
yeah,
Something break and it did a lot of damage.
yeah.
Would you agree it would be best to just do the 15 instead of buying new?
I don't think so, because we're spending $15,000 for parts on something that could go bad completely. I don't think that that's smart. And if we can use that somewhere, then great. Maybe we can put it in the new facility if that's, I don't know, I'm not a plumber, so I'm not gonna pretend to know something I don't. But.
Well, we won't be able to, because we're not gonna build a $38 million jail and be like, take a 2-year-old water heater and put it in.
Yeah.
Probably not.
While you're here.
That's how this is.
And the odds of it working, fitting, and all that is probably slim to none anyway.
It's just too bad the parts take so long for the repair. But
Any other elected official and department head comments? On public comment? Any public comment?
Public comment?
Public comment.
Yeah.
Could you state your name?
And come up to the mic.
No, I can't, I'm disabled veteran, I'm not gonna
Okay.
get up and walk around, thank you very much.
Well, I mean, could you state your name?
Yeah, William Jennings.
Okay.
I understand what Mr. White is saying, but is that a water heater or a boiler? There's a big difference.
Water heater.
You better check in on getting a boiler. Because I've handled this stuff before. Boilers will heat up under their own accord and last longer than a water heater. They're more efficient. Secondly, getting back to what Neff said earlier about selling the county property where the old jail is. If it's been determined that's a flood stage, that's why they went out looking for other property, paying $90,000 an acre, when the tax assessment of the state of Indiana says that agriculture property is only worth $2,200 an acre. It's 45 times the value that should not be paid, or shouldn't have been paid. Secondly, if that, where the EMS and stuff is at now, is a flood stage, why did they build an EMS there? Why did the county invest money in buying the old storage buildings there and renting them out when they know it's a flood stage area?
Sounds like an excellent question for the commissioners.
So they've already declared that it's a flood stage.
I've never seen the paperwork on it ever being a flood
But
stage.
it's in the meeting, it's in the
Right.
records.
Right, it was, and that was before the previous commissioners were there.
No, it was during this present commissioners.
We never did declare it a flood stage, I guarantee you that.
Yes, you did, Sam, I heard you, because I was there, what it's talking
No, I
about.
read what the previous commissioners had declared it a flood stage there. I spoke to DNR. It's in the edge of a flood stage. We talked about what the scenario would be if we built the jail there, compared, if you cross the highway there, Mr. Jennings, that, where Mark owns all that property, that's in total flood stage. Where the jail sits is now is on the brink of flood stage. If anybody that would buy that property and build on that property, more than likely, even if we built the jail where the storage unit was at, we'd have to raise the base of it up 2 feet in order to clear ourselves from any potential flood damage.
How much are you gonna have to raise for the new building where you bought at?
Don't know, that's all, the studies are being done, the environmental studies are being done on that.
What if it's 3 feet, 4 feet?
Whatever the environmental study says.
Then it's all to be reversed back to the old facilities.
So-
Save the county about $38 million.
You can't build on a new facility with this jail.
Not
If you do build in this location, the current location, then you can never add on. This is a 70-year jail. If you can't add on, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Excuse me, that jail is not 70 years old.
I'm not saying that jail is 70
I
years
thought
old. I
you
said the
said
new,
it.
no, I did not. I said the new construction, the new jail.
I'm
is
sorry,
rated
you don't need to scream, I got bad
I'm not.
ears, you can talk in the microphone voice.
70 years is the new jail, not the old one. The new one we're looking at building is a 70-year jail.
Here's the flood zones.
How many, let me
Most
ask
of the
you,
jail here
how many
is not in the
appraisers
flood
appraised that
zone.
land for the price what the county's paying?
Part of the EMS building.
We get to appraisals on the land
This
now.
part is in the.
How many's doing it? Because I heard there's just one appraisal for $90,000 per acre.
No, we're getting 2 appraisals for that property. If you look at the appraisals for that property out there, and the appraisals for the property that was sold surrounding that property across the street, all of it was well over $100,000 now.
Well, I'm interested in what we're gonna have to pay, our children's gonna have to pay for the next 70 years.
Well, I totally agree with you, Mr. Jennings, because this is my 14th year trying to get the jail built. We went from, $18 million jail to $30-some million jail, because we kicked the can down the road for 14 years, now we're in a situation that we can't get out of.
All right, on,
You're welcome, sir, you're welcome, sir.
on to auditor comments. Nothing?
I'd be glad to make a
Ah,
comment
pardon.
on water heaters.
If you've got a functional water heater, nothing says that it's gonna go out immediately, and it only costs 15 grand to get the other one repaired, you'd be back to having two of them. How long is it before the new jail is gonna be built?
18 to 20, yeah.
Okay, so 2 years. If you do a repair, and if you can't get at least a 2-year warranty on it, so you should have one of them that continues to work if you hire somebody under those circumstances. So for only 15 grand, you'd have 2 of them in operation. If the other old one fails, then you have to worry about the vent. But if it's only 2 years, the odds are you may not have to worry about it at all. And you're granted, you're not gonna be hoisting them up and taking them to the new jail. 15 grand would get you 2 water heaters.
Hell, you could put 2 of them up in series, and that would take care of it.
The point being is that if you repair the one, and it's
She already said she didn't.
Probably about $1,600 that way.
Council, do you have any?
You need a more hot water, then you put 3 of them in series.
I would encourage you to sign up for the State Board of Accounts called meeting, June 13th. They're going to talk a lot about the must group taxes, legislation, how that affects local units. It's going to be a very valuable meeting, and I encourage you to go to that. So tell Sheila if you want to register. It's going to open up soon.
Go ahead and register me for it. Thank you. All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you all for coming.